Episode 164 of the Cinema Psychos show is coming at you this week. We sit down with Chris Lemke of Ready, Set, Geek to discuss Birds of Prey. We talk about the emancipation of ourselves from the male gaze. We talk about the movie, and we have a cool discussion about ratings in DC comic book movies. Is it R? Is it PG-13? John also discusses fluids.
Oh, goody, goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Brian, John, and Elaine.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Continge, and my fellow co-hosts and filmmakers, John and Elaine Woolscroft.
Hi, Brian's class.
Wow.
Jumping right in.
Oh, you're jumping right in,
Loved it. I loved
jumping
it.
right in.
And I'm going to be really appropriate today. The words you're not going to hear are shit and ass and fuck. Oh, fuck. I got to watch my fucking mouth.
Listen, I think if you just not talk about fluid as much as usual, we'll be ahead.
Just ease up on the fluids. We're on episode 164 this week, and we actually have a special guest.
Returning guest.
We don't ever
about
have,
goddamn time.
We don't ever have returning guests.
Yeah.
You know, I think we're at the point now in the podcast where we got to start bringing people back and be like, well, you know, real friend of the show, returning guest, Chris Lemke of Ready, Set, Geek. How you doing here, Chris?
I'm good. I'm actually only here to distribute my film to Brian's class.
Okay.
It's a 3-hour black and white opus and 4x3 of a paper bag being stepped on.
Oh, wow.
I think it says a lot about society.
Oh, okay.
And how I feel.
4x3 is the only true aspect ratio.
Is the only true aspect ratio. Screw you, widescreen and CinemaScope. And this week, we had to bring Chris on because we are going to be talking today about Birds of Prey. Not the failed TV series from the early 2000s, but the new movie.
TV show?
Wait, I watched the show for this.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
Is that-
awkward. Awkward.
I'm a huge Dina Meyer fan.
I mean, we all are.
What is this Detective Comics you speak of?
Yeah,
Batman?
Batman.
Is there an umlaut?
Yeah, there is. But no, we're talking about the new spin-off from the failed Suicide Squad movie.
Academy Award-winning Suicide Squad.
Why do you have to remind me of
Why
that?
do you hurt him,
Because
Chris?
you
Why do
love
you
the
do-
Oscars so much.
No,
If you hate the Oscars so much, why do you care?
that's why I'm not on the Oscar episode, okay? That's why John and Lane did it solo, because they would just be like, well, Brian, what's your opinion on Oscars? Fuck them. You know, like, that's it.
Suicide Squad!
Yeah.
Suicide Squad. Is that your response to everything? What about Joker? Suicide Squad! Yeah, we're going to be talking about Birds of Prey, or the Emancipation of Harley Quinn. Is that...
Of
The
one
Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley
The
Quinn.
subhead on that is great. And it's brilliant.
And just right off the bat here, I was a cynical, broken asshole and called this movie for weeks Turds of Prey.
So clever,
and-
so funny.
You were wrong.
Wait,
I assumed.
Wait,
I
it
assumed it was gonna
sounds
be-
like Birds of Prey, but
Yeah.
with poop.
Yes.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Comedy.
You were a teenager too.
So funny. So funny.
This is an edgy show.
This is. Look at our back catalog of 163 episodes.
But
Little bit edgy.
this is pretty good.
Yeah.
I expected nothing from DC, and this was pretty good.
I
Wasn't great.
I think DC performs
pretty good.
best when we expect nothing.
I think that this may be the best DC foray yet.
This is what they got. This is the best. Yeah.
Since they sheltered off the Dark Knight stuff and tried to start building, and competing with Marvel.
In terms
I
of a
think
comic book movie, yes, because I would say like Joker was very good, but it's not a comic book movie.
I don't
No.
want to
No.
get into my issues with Joker.
right.
Oh, I saw it last night though, so we could talk if we wanted to. Let's talk
Okay.
later. We'll talk
I
later.
think Joker's an amazing central performance with not much going on around it outside of. I've also seen Scorsese movies from the 70s and the 80s.
Let's chat.
Yeah.
We'll chat later. Love it.
Yeah, there were times like during Joker where I was just had in my head, na 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 Batman.
No, you sang it like 3 times last night when I was watching
When
it
he's
for
like
the
jamming
first time.
scissors into somebody's eyeball and throat, and blood is going everywhere. It's a comic book movie.
Oh my lord,
But this-
spoiler.
I mean, honestly, like
For Joker?
without getting into it, I actually really liked Joker. I thought it was different.
Right, but it's
you know.
certainly
But
not
it's-
a comic
no,
book movie.
it is, and honestly, we had this conversation before. Dark Knight is not a comic book movie either.
No,
It's
but
closer.
I think what the idea of what a comic
Yeah.
book movie is has shifted so much.
Yeah.
And even when you look at the all powerful Marvel banner, what they've done is taken different genres
Yeah.
and said, okay, let's put a superhero movie that's a heist movie. Let's put a superhero movie that's a 70s war film. Let's do this. Let's do that. And I appreciate that. And it seems like that's what DC and now being run by Jeff Johns, who probably is the only name drop that you that you and I will understand, Brian.
Yeah.
Is going to try to do. When you see things like Joker is not a comic book movie. It's not a traditional comic book movie. You have this breadth of characters, so we can do interesting things. I thought that this was a really interesting thing that they did with this film.
Well, I think the thing is DC films has had a bad couple of years, like really, really shit sandwich couple
Yes.
of years.
They have nothing to lose now.
And well, I think it's just a matter of their problem was they were trying to compete with Marvel. They're trying to be Marvel. That's why they did, the whole Batman v Superman bullshit. That's why they did the Justice League, and they were trying so hard to fit into that Marvel, square peg. But the problem is that DC, its strength has always been in the characters, the rogues gallery. Absolutely. I always say that DC has the best rogues gallery.
Yes.
Out of all of the different between Marvel and DC.
Can I also
Are you going to
say
retort?
something?
Are you going to retort?
Well, I was just going to say that if we're going by like the biggest successes of DC, if we count them as say like this movie and Wonder Woman, they both were directed by women.
Okay.
I think that's a valid
very
point.
fair.
I would
Women directors. Oh, wait, are you serious?
Oh my god.
Oh,
Wow.
I think you can look at that even as a microcosm of, okay, you had Batman vs. Superman, you had a dark Superman movie, you had a dark Batman movie, you had this was dark and this
Gritty
was dark.
reboots.
Gritty
And
reboot.
you had a Wonder Woman film that felt true to Wonder Woman. You
Except for
had
that last 20 minutes.
Absolutely. Act 3 falls apart.
Agreed.
And that's why again I
What
give
the hell,
this-
Patty Jenkins? What the fuck were you going on
But again,
there?
that's a studio. I felt like that was studio.
That
mandated.
absolutely was studio mandated.
Definitely.
And that goes back to why I feel like this is a stronger overall film. Shazam
yeah,
felt true to that character.
definitely.
Aquaman, for its ups and downs and octopus playing a drums, felt truish to that character.
Let's play drugs.
And this felt true
Yeah.
to this universe. And I thought if they can at least do that and make good standalone character movies.
Is this standalone? Like when the Robert Pattinson Batman movie comes out, is it in the same
But you
universe as the Harley
can't
Quinn
because
thing?
you've already said that it ties in with Suicide Squad, which was Affleck.
Which
Batman.
now they're remaking. So I'm cross-eyed.
I do think
don't
this
think
is,
that they know what they're doing.
I think this is gonna tie in because this is gonna tie in with Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman,
Oh, does
and
it?
that's part of the
Yeah.
Robert
the whole
Pattinson
movie
one, right?
takes place in the East End of Gotham, and that's actually Catwoman's territory.
Right,
and where is Batman in all of this movie?
that bothered you the entire time?
Yeah.
I told you he took a vacay.
He's learning his footing.
He's
learning in the
mountains.
All right, so real quick, I just want to do a little bit of the info on the movie.
Yeah.
Since I said that this was a woman directed romp, as it were,
And written.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Directed by Kathy Yan, who I wasn't overly familiar with as far as like her films go.
She only did one other one,
She
right?
did Dead Pigs in 2018. I wasn't
see that.
familiar.
That's the Bernie Sanders fundraiser video.
Yikes.
That to the pigs.
Yikes.
Don't eat them.
And then Christina Hodson was the
Bacon, I don't care. Sorry.
Christina Hodson was the screenwriter for this, and she wrote Bumblebee in 2018.
Right, which was
so-
another, hey, we've got this giant mess of a franchise that nobody likes. but here's this kind of cool movie that didn't suck.
Oh yeah, that's
I
the
like
one
that
with
one. John Cena.
Haley,
He goes, "How are we?"
John Cena.
Yeah,
I
because
was
he
gonna-
has the best line in all of Transformers. He's like, well, we have to follow these robots. Because why? They're literally called the Decepticons. Does nobody else realize that?
Decepticons.
That's really funny. That's really funny.
That's it.
But
That's it
Bumblebee,
there.
legitimately, I actually really enjoyed. It's the best
And
of the Transformers.
She wrote that as well. So I really I thought that this was a nice departure from Suicide Squad, which was absolute dog shit.
Oh man.
And I have like a lot to say about the things that I thought made this film so much different. And as a lady, that I really thought that meant a lot to me to see a movie like this. Like, I can't tell you guys how awesome it was to just have the camera observe what Harley Quinn was like doing, and not ass, tits, ass, tits. Like, it was.
You mean like Suicide Squad?
Oh, sorry, Brian's class. No, I'm serious. I mean, you look at a male-directed film, you look at a woman-directed film. I mean, the angles are so very different, and for this to not and you might roll your eyes at me, but John, but
Yeah. Remember, this is a podcast.
yeah, sorry.
She looked at me.
Well, I looked at you and I was like, am I going to call him out? No, yes. It was me not wanting to call you out more than anything else, and then I decided against it.
You verbally did one of the people in the room. So.
Sorry. But I
This is awkward now.
it's fine.
No, it's not.
I've called him out at worse. But you may roll your eyes at me, but like, there's a lot about comic movies that you're very aware of the male gaze.
Oh, yeah.
Like with
I'm gonna roll my eyes at that.
especially with like Black Widow, that is all she is ass for the most part. And too in The Dark Knight Rises, in a different franchise, Anne Hathaway's Catwoman, that was so much ass. Like, for us to have this interpretation of Harley Quinn where what she's doing is more important, and for the camera angles to be that much different, I came away from that film being like, wow, the cinematography was good. And maybe it was, but it mostly just didn't focus on women's parts.
Yeah.
And you could see like the things that they could do, and there were a lot of really great aerial shots, and you could get like the expanse of a whole scene in ways that you don't see when it's male directed.
Yeah.
Lane, are you saying that B-list performance artist magician Christopher Nolan, guising as a director, objectified women? Well, it's what we wanted to do, love. We want you to get on that motorcycle and make sure her pants suction to the buttocks. Good, all right. And get on there and make sure we'll prop up the back of the motorcycle, too, so it looks like you're just ready for penetration. And then you can shoot out an ejaculate from the front of the motorcycle, saving everybody. We'll zoom in right on your butthole. No, what's that? Oh, we'll zoom in on the thing being blown up. Oh, all right. Play good. Don't let any spoilers out. We got to put chuka things around the town.
Wow, is that like behind the scenes footage
That's
that you
behind the
found?
scenes.
Yeah,
footage
that's
that you
Christopher
found, yeah.
Nolan.
That's amazing. I didn't know that was a thing.
I love Christopher Nolan trailers where it's like, coming soon, the new movie from Christopher Nolan, and then you see somebody sneeze to like, fall. It's like, whoa, I gotta see that one.
It's true. But hey, getting back to my point though, I can't tell you guys because it's not aimed at you guys. I can't tell you what it feels like to try to be in this sandbox and like to be spurned at every turn.
Yeah.
Because I'm always told I don't belong. I'm always told that this world isn't for me. And from being in a comic book store and trying to find something I was trying to buy something for you, John. Like, this was years ago. This was like 10 years ago. I was trying to buy a comic book for you, and I'm going to call them out. I was at Edie's, and they made fun of me for being a woman, and they turned me away. And
Not comic book store employees.
yeah, and
No, this is why you always go to New Dimension Comics, proud sponsor of Ready, Set, Geek.
ooh, well, hey.
Was that New Dimension Comics? You said?
That's New Dimension Comics.
New Dimension
Location everywhere you want to be.
Wow.
But yeah, so like I'm told there I don't belong, and a lot of the times like I don't feel like I could relate to any of these characters because a lot of them are male, but the women characters are so thin. They're very masculine, and they're just there for the body parts. That doesn't feel
I know
good.
that I've always felt that the way that comic book films and even the comic books themselves have represented women have always been ridiculous. I mean, I remember when Avengers: Age of Ultron came out, and I think it was Subway or some other fast food joint had partnered with Marvel, and they were releasing like cups with all the different characters on it. And I remember that there was a Black Widow one where it quite literally was just like ScarJo's face and her ass. And just...
Where can I find this?
That's it. No, but my point is
John
that...
needs to go get a 6-inch real quick.
John already has a 6-incher.
No, but my point is just like, that's ridiculous. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Well, and just the way that it makes fans of cinema, of this genre feel, as women, it does separate us.
Yeah.
And I think this is a large part of why I have been so exhausted with Marvel, because they don't handle women characters very well. It all feels like the male gaze.
They quite literally said years ago, when Age of Ultron came out, they were like, no one wants to go see a Black Widow film. The boys don't want to go see a Black
That was
Widow.
a lot of their merchandising is
Yeah.
they specifically weren't putting out
Yeah.
toys of Black Widow. They
Right.
weren't. So you had an opportunity to capitalize
Yeah.
on, hey, we do have a prominent female figure. Whether it's, problematic or not.
Right.
They still chose to say, but she's an also-ran.
But
It's,
Right.
Yeah, it was the same thing with Jurassic Park when that came out. There was a Timmy toy, but there was not a Lex. And
No.
the actress apparently that played Lex broke down in tears in Toys R Us because there wasn't an action figure for her.
I just want to go back in time.
She
and
should
hug
have ran in
her.
high heels, and then they would have given her one.
Right, yeah.
And,
But the thing is, that's little boys are going to play with Jurassic Park toys, not, little girls. That's their thinking. And Lane, to kind of piggyback on what you said, you look at, Patty Jenkins directed Wonder Woman. She's not overly sexualized. And then you get the greatest feminist ever, Joss Whedon, directing Justice League.
Zack Snyder.
Yeah. And there's shots that are panning in on her ass in tight leather pants, and it's like it's exactly.
They're not
what you
even
said.
wearing, like, honestly,
Yeah.
like, it was ridiculous when I saw Justice League. I'm like, since when did the Amazons just like say, yeah, you know what, we don't need functional armor?
Well, the shot I'm talking
we
about
just-
specifically is when Bruce Wayne shows
Yeah.
up on his jet, and she's waiting for him, and the shot is coming from below, and her butt is slowly just becoming like invading the whole screen. It made me happy, but it's not exactly.
I'm
when
just
you
saying,
get the male
I'm just
gaze
saying, like, the
direction,
depictions of the Amazons in both films are very telling.
Yeah.
Like in Wonder Woman, the Amazons are wearing functional armor.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, they're wearing functional armor.
Well, I mean, and if I could kind of do like a master's class briefly for
Yes,
you guys
absolutely.
on female form and fashion, so female, form, fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things, I do think that Wonder Woman was well handled, no problem. But one of the things that I do think is that it was very classic in the sense that, Gal Gadot is so fucking beautiful, and her clothes were very beautiful. And that does fall in line again with being there as a part of society for, the male gaze. What I really liked about Harley Quinn, I'll let you guys in on a secret. Women who really, really love fashion, and not every woman loves fashion, but I worked at a fashion company for a number of years, and so I was around a lot of that stuff, and the next level, kind of stuff. Women love doing fashion for other women.
Oh, okay.
And so we don't always want to look good, and this isn't always a sexual thing, because obviously women can be in love with women or be sexually attracted to other women. But,
Not on this podcast, damn it.
fuck that. But, sometimes I'd walk out the door and like John wouldn't be crazy about my outfit. And that's how I knew I had a winner, because I knew the
okay.
fashion girls or women, the fashion women I worked with would love it,
Yeah.
because that's what fashion is for. It pushes
not
the
just for our
boundaries.
gaze?
Yeah, it's not just for your gaze, and it's not just pretty.
Right.
Sometimes fashion can be funny. Sometimes it's about different shapes and making things a little bit weird, like wearing like knee socks with chunky sandals, and or having like a skirt, with kittens on it, like shit like that, sometimes, because for me, I think fashion can be funny. So sometimes I have like, some weird stuff.
Yeah.
I have like a zombie skirt that I think is hilarious, And so what I loved about Harley Quinn is that she is not traditionally attractive. Margot Robbie is a gorgeous woman in real life. They did a real good job of making her not really for anyone's gaze. I mean, just she's so pale, which a lot of people don't really find attractive. I mean, she's ghostly in that.
It's
not her fault.
As a juxtaposition to...
She's not that pale in real life. You can't be that pale.
It's because the Joker made her take a bath.
I see what you're saying.
I would say probably the most watched scene from Suicide Squad is Harley Quinn changing into her clothes, surrounded by a group of men.
Yep.
Who were like, booey.
They're like, oh my God.
Right. And they put it in the trailers and they put it in everything. You got to go see this movie. It's the chick from Wolf of Wall Street.
Nope,
and now you can
exactly
go in and say, hey, this is Margot Robbie. You got to go see this movie and see what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Which, just to circle back to the film, again, the Suicide Squad was an amazing trailer for an awful film. Mm-hmm. And Birds of Prey was an awful trailer for a really great film.
Yeah, and I think that the way that they handled all the costuming and everything, I really felt like these characters were dressing for themselves, and I felt like it fell in line with their characters because, you know, in the one scene, so we'll get into kind of the plot a little bit, where, you know, we're going over the fact that Harley has broken up with the Joker. Well, I guess the Joker broke up with her.
Which, thank God, by the way.
And right,
and that in a minute.
And again, we that definitely is something we need to go over. But there's this one scene where she's had too much to drink for the evening, but she's in this like weird sweater that's like literally made of like bits of trash. It's like sparkly, but I'm pretty sure there's like crime scene tape stripes in it. You know what I mean? And just like I just loved that because it just seemed like something like a real, you know, crazy woman would do, you know, like she wasn't trying to be sexy, she liked it, you know. And I think that was a lot of what was cool about this movie is that like Harley Quinn just did whatever the fuck she wanted after she was done with the Joker because she wanted to do it.
Part of her weaponry is her sexuality, though.
I mean, maybe another
iterative.
But let's just talk about this movie. You know, I know that there's a long history there, but I don't think she used a lot of that in this film, really.
But I'm very glad that they did separate her from the Joker because the whole character of Harley Quinn is based on being in an insanely abusive relationship with a sexual sadist maniac.
And they did not handle that well in Suicide Squad.
Well, the thing is,
it became
they made
a meme of like, find a man who treats you like this.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, no.
What do you do? No.
Find the fucking opposite.
That's OJ.
Yeah. A very pale OJ. I don't want to see his 440, the Joker. I don't know. I don't think he could win. I don't think Joker's winning a Heisman.
I think kind of going back to female writers, female directors, and female empowerment in this movie, the scene that really, really puts the menace in Ewan McGregor, his black mask, is
he was
scene
fucking
where
great.
He was great, and he'd shoot every bit of scenery except for one scene where they really had to show, you know, this is a bad guy.
Yeah.
And he makes the woman who's his friend at the club stand up and like have her dress torn off and dance for me, and it's like no score, nothing. This is a bad human being.
Well,
it reminded me of Vince McMahon doing that to Trish Stratus.
Right. But
there's our wrestling thing for the day.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a Ric Flair shirt, so you're good.
But I think the thing is like Black Mask. I think most cursory fans of the movies only won't know who the hell Black Mask is.
No.
You know, but
nerds like us were kind of. I don't know if you guys were upset about how. In a way, I was upset that he wasn't necessarily like the comic book Black Mask, but I kind of loved that at the same time because Ewan McGregor was my favorite thing in that movie.
So yes and no.
Yeah.
Black Mask had a little bit of a renaissance. Really kind of starting with the Jason Todd stuff and War Games, which is a great Batman series, where he really was more like this. Yeah. More like the portrayal in the film. And I've heard that a lot. But if you're looking at 1960s Black Mask, yes, he was, mustache twirler. And here he's much more of the mentally unstable Roman Solanas character that Ewan McGregor did inhabit. Yeah. So I didn't feel there's only one character in here as a comic book purist that really kind of like, don't do that, not to her.
Who's that?
That's Cassandra Cain.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, sorry, if you can finish, I just wanted to say something about that scene that you were just referencing.
Oh, go nuts! Yeah.
Oh, cool. So, so the scene that you're talking about with Roman, Ewan McGregor's character, going kind of crazy. What kind of spurs that is that he's, he's not mentally stable and he's getting kind of paranoid. He's upset about something and he's kind of paranoid, and this is what causes him to make this woman get up on the table and has someone tear her clothes off. I thought it was interesting. I think it's a Margaret Atwood quote. I hate that I don't know offhand, but I think it's a Margaret Atwood quote that men are afraid that women are laughing at them and women are afraid that men are going to kill them. And I thought, like, what a beautiful illustration of that. Like, that, because there's so much tension in that scene, and he ends up not killing her. But there's much
you
tension.
Didn't need the violence of the situation.
And
it
it's
was
not,
the control.
Yeah, and it's interesting that it wasn't sexual or exploitative in any way. It just was scary.
Wait a minute, Black Mask. I thought this was the Obi-Wan origin story.
Oh, honey.
This was back when he was just a racist.
Yeah.
Oh, honey, we have to talk.
But no, Ewan McGregor, I thought was fantastic.
He was, and there was
I hate
a
to
lot.
say. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. I'm sorry. I kind of jumped on you. I apologize.
I just hate to say about a movie that is about like great female characters and like how it's so great to have a female lead and then all the main characters be women. The one that I really walked out loving was Ewan McGregor.
But he's shown here.
Penis rules.
But he also he had like a feminine quality to him as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
where
I agree.
He was flirty with the Margot Robbie character.
Yep.
But you had Chris Messina right there as Victor Zsasz, and they had like this weird psychosexual chemistry.
That's true. They had
You
great
did.
chemistry.
I walked out of there. I was like, that was Chris Messina as Zsasz, because he did not look anything like.
Were they supposed to be lovers, or was it?
I
just
think
kind
it was.
of,
I think,
or
it was
did they
an
both just get
implication.
off on violence?
It was
I
just
think it's an
ambiguous.
implication that there's some pegging going on.
Maybe
there.
a Smithers thing.
A Smithers thing. I love it. That's
You're so good
funny.
at turning me on.
You should probably ignore that.
So funny. Well, let's talk a little bit about like how the thing progressed. So the plot of the movie was kind of sort of like a Deadpool kind of thing where we jumped back and forward in time. It wasn't totally linear.
She's narrating. She's talking right to the
It's
audience.
very
Yeah.
Deadpool.
And that was maybe the only aspect that I didn't like love, because at first I was just like, what? Like, I don't know. Because we've seen it before, you know what I mean? So
I love that
think
this movie wasn't linear, though. That was what I think saved it from seeming kind of average, being like, oh, now let's go back and find out how this happened to get to here. And I'm like, oh, this is a great way to tell this.
It started to work, I think, for me after the first like main plot point. In the very beginning, it's just like a lot of like chasing and running, and I was like, what's going on? So we kind of start things with realizing that, Harley Quinn has the Joker's broken up with her for good this time. And she's like kind of trying to find herself, and she doesn't tell people right away that they're broken up, because that's kind of like a protection for her.
Yep.
Yeah,
being
it's
like,
everybody
amnesty
hates
in
her.
Gotham.
yeah, because everybody hates her. Because, I mean, let's be real. She's been kind of a dick to everybody. And so she kind of starts to pull herself back together. She gets like a little apartment. She gets a new pet. It's a hyena. Spoiler. And
Named Bruce.
yeah, she names it Bruce, and she literally names it like after Batman. It's the greatest thing. And so she's she has a like an all-night bender, I guess it's fair to say, and she then has the great idea. And one of the things I loved, I have my best ideas when I'm drunk. I was like, girl, we all thought that in our 20s, didn't we? And so she grabs this like, I don't know, tanker truck or something, and she just drives it into the chemical plant where the Joker, quote unquote,
the
made
Ace
her.
Chemical plant.
Ace
It was
Chemicals,
their
that's
special
it.
place.
Their special place.
No. Tim Burton says it's Access Chemicals.
Yes, Tim Burton says it's Axis Chemicals.
And she drove into it, and just the drama of the fireworks and her walking away from it. I mean, just so funny. It's so funny because like her boot gets stuck in the truck, and so you see her like limping like with one heel, because when you only have one high heel, it's like up down. Like the walk is just everything
Her
about it
walk
was
of
just
shame.
hilarious. It's just funny.
Without even having sex, unfortunately.
And like, I think the most meaningful relationship was between Harley and the egg sandwich. Is that right?
So the most sexual shot of the entire movie.
Or two egg titties.
Slow
Two egg
motion. Yeah.
titties.
was that egg sandwich, and if they don't find a way to be able to tie that in for a promotional thing, man, I wanted that egg
No
sandwich.
joke. I swear to God, bro. I left this movie and I went to Sheetz and got a fucking breakfast sandwich.
Do you want to explain the egg sandwich?
Yeah, so after she's had her evening and everything, she's hungover as shit, and that's her favorite thing is when she's hungover, and so she goes to this like very specific spot
Bacon,
where
two
it's
cracked egg, fried
bacon,
eggs,
2 eggs,
expired cheese, just enough hot sauce,
and just a tiny because she wants to taste the cheese, and it's just a little bit of hot sauce, and on this like grilled, it looked like ciabatta to me. She called it something else, but
Yeah, it was like almost a ciabatta or sourdough.
Yeah, it looks so good, and so it's like all wrapped up, and she's like. And that's all she wants in this world. And so when she's just about to open it, that's when the cop comes after her. Rosie Perez's character starts to come after her, and it's a whole chase scene with her being chased by the police. She starts to run into all the people that want to kill her because, obviously everyone decoded her message that, she and the Joker broke up. So they're she's not protected anymore.
Right.
And at the very end of the chase scene, the egg sandwich just flies through the air and goes and like falls to the ground. There's no saving the sandwich. And she's like, it took losing something I truly loved to realize the like direness of my situation.
It's on the posters and stuff. If you take a look at the posters, like flying egg sandwiches. And
Oh
stuff.
my God, really?
I hadn't
didn't
noticed
see
that,
that.
yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Isn't it fun to talk about a DC movie and like laugh and like, wasn't it fun to watch this movie?
Oh my God, no.
Wait a minute, fun in a DC movie?
Yeah.
Seriously,
That's crazy.
No, motherfucker. Yeah. You went and we went to Batman v Superman, and you had some adult beverages, and I had to fucking drive. That wasn't fun for me at all.
And I accidentally owned that movie because one time when I was home alone drinking by myself, don't judge me.
I don't judge you for drinking by yourself. I judge you what you do when you drink by yourself.
No, here's what happened. It was like 1:30 in the morning. I'm like, I'm gonna go smoothie another shot, and I went to rent it on Amazon, not realizing that I bought the fucking thing, and I buy like nothing permanently on Amazon. So I have like 3 purchases on Amazon. One of them is Batman v Superman. I own that for fucking ever.
Was it the Criterion edition?
It was the Snyder director's cut.
My God.
So it was like 6 hours long.
You can literally write into Amazon and be like, I didn't fucking mean to buy this.
No,
and they
it's
would
too
give
late
you-
now.
Well, I didn't realize I
Well,
started
now it's
watching
too late.
it. Yeah.
But if he'd done it at the time, if you don't watch it, they'll give you your money.
So every
back.
time I go to my Amazon purchases, I'm like, oh,
It's just
there
sitting
it
there
is.
mocking you.
Hashtag you're the worst.
Yeah.
But anyway,
It was still
it's
sucked
really
when I
nice.
watched
to,
Dawn
like,
of sobriety.
it's really nice to actually find some joy. And I think that this movie did have a lot of joy because it was very funny. It was very quirky and like, light.
Yeah.
But still I thought like had a nice tone throughout. I had mentioned the screenplay writer earlier. I thought that there was like a nice hand like done with the dialogue and done with like kind of the pacing of everything. I
Yeah,
thought
you
that was
definitely
well done.
saw the model as being, okay, we want to have the irreverent tone of Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
We want to have kind of an unreliable narrator. We want to play with the linear format. And once I kind of figured out what they were doing by the end of it, and I think we'll talk about that more, like what are we getting out of this film, I really thought what they did was brilliant. I thought it had a much stronger third act than Deadpool did.
Yeah.
Yeah, the third act I really thought was actually very good.
But the chemistry and the uniqueness of all of the characters. So you had Huntress, you have which was Mary
Crossbow killer.
Mary
Yeah.
Elizabeth Winstead.
right. Rosie Perez was Renee Montoya from GCPD, which is a phenomenal character. If you even go back to the Batman animated series,
Oh man, she was great in the animated series.
she was awesome in that, and then she got really fleshed out in the comics and GCPD, and she becomes the Question, and she's has issues with being a drunk, and she's a lesbian, and Ali Wong has a cameo as an ex-lover.
Oh
I
yeah.
thought that was handled well because it wasn't a big deal.
No,
They just, like,
no, they were just.
They just were. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really nice to see.
Who am I missing?
Dinah Lance.
Yeah, Dinah Lance, who I really came away with, like, who is she, and what else could I see her in?
Dinah Lance.
No,
Black
the
Canary.
actress.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's Journey Smollett Bell.
Yeah.
She was in an episode of House and an episode of Grey's Anatomy. She's
Yeah.
been on a lot of TV. She's amazing.
I want to see pretty much what else she does.
This is like long overdue because so I'm like the queen of she was on that show that one time. Like I always see
she did a Law and Order, really?
yeah, I saw.
Everybody
I'm
did Law
always
and Order
the
and a
queen-
Star Trek.
As an actor.
I'm always the queen of like bit actors, but I am such a big fan of Journey. I think she is so talented, and I didn't know she could fucking sing like that. And
Yeah.
she can sing.
It's interesting to see what you do with a different interpretation of the character, because a lot of people, like myself, I know Dinah Lance, Black Canary from, the Arrow verse,
Right.
and seeing a different interpretation of that is refreshing, because I think Black Canary has always been kind of like, you're there in the Arrowverse series,
Right. Which is different from the comics, where she's one of the toughest characters, was a leader of the Justice League at one point.
Yep.
Yeah, and she's very strong-willed in this movie.
Hot take. I don't like. I mean, when it's Justice League or something, anything goes. But I don't like Batman universe with characters that have some level of superpowers.
But
Interesting.
I'm not a big fan of like
So-
Clayface or Killer Croc.
that
or,
exists though.
They
Yeah.
did such a good job building to it. They
I thought so
alluded
too.
to it. When the moment came, it
made a lot of
great.
sense.
Just villains with superpowers makes Batman seem completely useless. I mean, I know that we've talked about this a million times in the show that he can use his genius mind.
That is his superpower and his money.
But we saw that was
It's a
I hated
superpower
that
I
in Justice
want.
League where like Batman is just getting his ass whipped by an evil Superman because he's just a dude.
Well, I thought what was nice in this case about Black Canary is that her powers came at a cost. Like she was able to use them, but man, she passed the fuck out. You know what I mean?
Right. And they did a great, because Black Canary comes with this amazing lore that goes way, way, way back.
Sure.
And in like one line of dialogue, they address that. And they say, you could be who your mom was. And her mom was that same character, didn't have the superpowers, but her mom was like a Batman. Have you ever read, God, it's so bad, and I hate you. You're already looking at me, but All-Star Batman and Robin, that's the first time that you get to see them in that same sort of era. It's awful. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's absolutely the worst. Don't read it now that I mentioned it. Ryan's class, you're too young and susceptible. Don't let it happen to you.
Don't go to the comics and get that.
But I liked that they addressed that. I liked her hero's journey. I liked her embracing what her powers were, what it meant to her. I felt like that was an earned thing.
Yeah. Well, I thought that a lot of these characters like had a lot of growth, throughout the whole thing, and for her to do things that she didn't want to do, but felt like that calling really. I thought that was cool to see.
Yeah. And I know that sometimes on this show we break down plot point by point, but this movie to me was very much like Robert Altman meets who did Deadpool, Tim Miller.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Robert
Yeah,
Altman
you got
meets
it.
Tim Miller meets Quentin Tarantino. Like it was a
Yeah.
lot of like non-linear, like we got to go back and like we got to
And
follow this
forward
character.
and-
So
Yeah.
it's very difficult to break down plot
Yeah,
point
well,
by
the
plot
main
point,
the main
but-
deal was like there was this like famed diamond that had the coordinates of this
Bertinelli diamond.
Yeah, the Bertinelli diamond that had the coordinates etched into it of the Bertinelli family fortune, and that's what everyone's looking for in this movie. What happened is, Black Canary is working for Black Mask, not totally knowing how fucking evil he is yet. And she and Zaz are tasked with picking up the diamond because at last they found it, and this kid swipes it.
That's the Cassandra Cain character,
Mm-hmm.
who is the biggest departure of all of the characters from their comic roots.
Oh, interesting.
So they have one scene where she's in the police office, and they're like, "Oh, Cassandra, what'd you do?" And she's like, and she scratched her throat. I'm like, "Oh, okay, maybe we're gonna get there," because she doesn't speak in the Batman comics.
Oh,
and
interesting.
she's the Batgirl who was like super badass.
Oh, wow.
And is would go one-on-one with Bruce.
Well, she becomes Batwoman.
Right.
But she's mute.
She's mute because she was raised by two of like the greatest assassins, and then her dad was David Kane, and he was a master assassin. He beat the shit out of her and trained her on how to be like this absolute killer.
Wow.
So she's a little like what would happen to Hit Girl.
Wow. Okay.
So that was, and she's a very like powerful force,
Interesting.
especially of like feminine characters in Batman. Like she was toe to toe as a fighter with Batman.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's interesting that they did go so far from the comics, because why not just make it Beverly Smith? You know what I mean?
And
she
that's
doesn't have to be
really
Cassandra
my
Cain.
only quibble.
Yeah,
Right.
it could have been anybody. It didn't have to be, especially when, for the average audience member, this room has 3 humongous Batman nerds and somebody who likes Batman quite a bit. I'm looking at you, Lane.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm here.
But the thing is, like, to the average audience member, they don't know Black Mask. They don't know Victor
Right.
Zsasz. They don't know Cassandra Cain. So you don't have to make it Cassandra Cain, especially if the only people you're appealing to are the ones that know that well, are going to be annoyed by the fact that she's not like she is in the
Right.
comics.
And there's other characters who are
Yeah.
very similar to that in the Batman universe or in the DC universe. You could have said, it's this person. You would have been like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense.
I would love to know the decision making on some of that stuff, because maybe they have
It's just
plans
name
for her
drop.
later. Or,
It's-
I guess.
but-
It's,
Yeah, it's
you've
name
already. I thought that there was a moment at the end where they could say, okay, the same people that had trained Huntress, we're going to send her off there so she can be safe.
Oh, okay.
And I thought that something was going to happen to her vocal cords. Like she
Interesting.
would get her throat slit, but she was saved, but she couldn't speak anymore.
Right.
I thought that they really could have done something, and I'm like, you just kind of didn't.
I mean, the only thing I
Right.
could think of is, and I don't know if DC is this methodical the way that Marvel is just like, well, let's introduce the character now, and then subsequent sequels.
That's what I was
we get to
wondering,
the
Brian.
point where
I
she
really
becomes
don't think
that.
it's that.
Yeah.
I don't think
they
they're thinking
said
that far ahead
which
anymore.
women are in the Batman universe.
Yeah.
That one, that one, that one, that one, and that one.
And it's also like most people know that Cassandra Cain is a very female empowered type of character.
Right.
Like I think she was one of the
She
first-
takes over the League of Shadows.
Well, she was one of the first Batman, like main core Batman characters to be a lesbian.
yeah.
You know, that was a
Wait,
groundbreaking
don't-
thing at the time.
Your thing, don't change Catherine Kane to
Oh,
Cassandra
that's a different
Cain.
one?
Yeah, there's two different.
Oh my god.
So Catherine Kane is Bruce's cousin.
Okay.
And she was a character from way back when.
Right.
This was Cassandra Kane.
I've got my Canes mixed up.
One's K with a K, and Cassandra is Kane with a C A I
Gotcha.
N.
Okay.
But she was the one who had the mouthpiece stitched closed. And she came in.
What are you young men talking about? Who's your favorite ball player? Huh? You want to go hunting?
Right. So in this one though, Cassandra Cain, I mean, she's a child,
She is.
and she has these shitty foster
She was like
parents.
16 something.
I thought maybe 15. She seemed kind of young. But she has these shitty foster parents. She's a pickpocket, and she ends up lifting this diamond, and she swallows it, and that's why she coughs in the police station. But we don't know that yet because of the nonlinear storytelling. And so the whole like second half of the film is Harley Quinn has talked Roman into not killing her because she's gonna find his diamond, and then everybody else of his like assassin friends,
Which is
looking
such
for
horseshit, by the
hold
way.
on. All of his assassin friends are looking for the diamond because he knows Cassandra has it, but it's in her, and they're just gonna like it's like the question of, is she gonna poop it out? Are they gonna gut her? It's like a whole thing.
But that pissed me off so bad because Roman wants to kill Harley Quinn because he knows that she's not with the Joker anymore. And you could tell early on in the movie, like, he fucking hates her because the Joker, he hates anybody that has power over him, and Joker has power over everybody.
Of course.
So, yeah, when he finds out, like, hey, we have Harley Quinn, let's go torture and kill her, boss. You know, he's like, oh, yes, that sounds good because I'm Ewan McGregor. You know, no, he's doing actually a very good accent in the movie. But, she's like, I can get you the diamond. I think I know where it is. And he's like, okay, I'm going to let you go by yourself. But if you don't come back with the diamond, I'm going to kill you.
It's like you could kill her
And
now.
then later in the movie, they go, hey, boss, she ran off with the girl and the diamond and there's nowhere to be found. He's like, God damn it. Like, how did you not see that coming? Just take one of your
He triggers
goons with
everybody
her.
else at the same time.
Yeah.
So he's like, cool.
To go get the
you
girl.
You go do that.
Not to
you
follow
go get
Harley.
the girl. No, that's what they were tasked to do.
Yeah.
And then you go make sure she's going to do what they want. Because then when she finds the girl, the people are there and descended upon her.
It's
Right.
true.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
And that also was right before the scene which I thought was really cool. He smacks the hell out of her, and she has a dream sequence. Which was really cool. It was like
Mary Lambert's
it's
going to
Marilyn
sue
Monroe
somebody.
singing "Diamonds Are a Girl Best Friend," but it's Harley. So that's the second time that song's been in a movie with Ewan McGregor, because you also have Moulin Rouge.
That's true.
But they were in like weird fetishistic headgear.
Yeah, that
it was
was
weird.
really
So trippy.
cool looking scene.
It was so funny because it just seemed like he just knocked her that goofy,
Right.
you know?
But at the same time, you saw this look in her eyes where she liked him for a second. It was very, very subtle.
Yeah,
And it goes back to her like previous power dynamic.
And her madness, I thought. Like, it really
Right.
captured, like, her madness.
Yeah, but it almost becomes like, well, it's not Rain Man because she's Cassandra Cain. It's not mentally, but like, somewhat of a road movie where she has to learn to be like a parent to the. So there's a
Like
much better
Rain Man.
example.
You mean
Yeah.
Harley Quinn. You
mean
said
Harley
Cassandra Cain.
Sorry,
did.
well, Cassandra Cain and Harley Quinn together. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Let's not call people Rain Man, honey. It's
please don't do that.
it's
Please don't do
2020.
There's a whole subgenre of road movies. You picked Rain
Please don't do
Man.
that.
It's
that's the first thing that
2020.
came into my head.
You
Yeah.
could have picked.
Nobody has autism in the
listen,
movie.
Listen, you could have picked Pee Wee's Big Adventure or Pee Wee's Big.
Yeah, let's
Big
put
Holiday.
Pee Wee's Big Event. That's. I mean, it makes more sense than what I said, but still.
Yeah.
Remember
just
that scene where
not
she just
Rain
threw
Man,
all the
okay?
toothpicks on the ground? And
Yeah, man. Coffee almost came out of Chris's nose. You got to be careful.
What's a better
I
example?
literally was
of-
like, what?
Where's it going with
Where
this?
is this?
an example of she had to learn to be like a parental figure.
Or even
You know.
just not a shithead. She was like a
Yeah.
big sister, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
or
that
big
was,
sister.
There was one story that I was listening to with Margot Robbie, and she was talking to the filmmakers, and kind of the edict was, okay, how are we going to make this Harley Quinn's hero story, her journey?
Yeah.
And Margot Robbie kind of, again, going back to that Deadpool scenario of knowing the character and knowing what's up, because no, we're not really going to redeem her.
Yeah,
she's not a
she's-
good
she's not a
person.
good
She's not a great human being.
But if we don't redeem her, how can we sell Hot Topic things?
I'm glad they didn't try, though.
Memes.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't try, because I thought that it was important to
But
be
that's-
realistic to the character.
I think it was originally the DC edict, and she was like, no.
good.
We don't want to lean too much into, she's not joining the Justice League.
No,
at any
she's
time.
if anything, I'd say she's an anti-hero.
Yeah, and she really does kind of play both sides.
That's where
and-
it's at. It's you're an anti-hero. You're not a hero, but you're also not exactly a villain either.
Well,
and
what I
they did a
thought-
good job leaning into.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought what was beautifully illustrated is when she breaks into the police station with her fun gun. I mean, she shoots people in the face, but with a glitter bomb. You know, like, obviously people got hurt, but she didn't kill anybody.
She didn't kill any of the police officers, which was a very smart decision.
Yeah.
Because then
That's not how you make a
lose
hero of your
whole
movie.
Swath of
Yeah.
what are they called? People. But then you go into like the bad guys. Okay, we can kill them.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I thought that was really
It was like the
smart the way they
Terminator
did
2
that.
thing. Like, you can't kill people. Why?
And plus, this, like the colored smoke and the glitter was just a joy to watch. Let's be real.
The choreography in general, it's the same team from John Wick.
Oh, nice.
wow.
Yeah,
And
it was
they-
really
the
well
way
done.
that they filmed it was great, and I loved that it's not hard cut. For Brian's film,
You mean
class.
like
just
Quantum
if you have
Solace?
people
It's not
that
a film
know how
class,
to
it's a
do it.
podcast class,
It's
but
about
okay.
for Brian's
Probably a lot of turnover between the two. Yeah.
if you're into podcasts, you're into film.
Yeah. It's good.
True.
That's how this whole medium started.
Yeah.
That and sports. Anyway,
It's a very fluid camera.
yeah, they were able to keep
Hashtag
it,
fluids.
and they didn't do shaky cam like David Ayer. They didn't have to deviate from what made it great. They just keep it on them.
It was, it was very lyric, I thought, too. Like, there was almost something elegant about all of it, the movement. I thought that
I
was
thought
cool.
the third act filmmaking was awesome.
Yeah, I did, too.
Although I will say, I'm assuming by this point when this episode comes out, if you're listening to this, you've seen it, and we've already mentioned tons of spoilers. So,
Yeah.
but at the end of the movie, like Black Mask brings essentially his goon army to get the diamond and to kill Harley and just and end all this, and he brings in like 80 of his guys without guns. Now, granted, don't shoot the girl because she has the diamond, but at the same time, go ahead and shoot her, and then you can cut her open. Why didn't they bring guns in? Is it
feel like
because
there
the
was-
heroes didn't have
I feel
any
like there was
guns?
I think they had guns.
Well, no,
They
they
were
were
all
fighting
dressed like
each other
the,
with bats
extras
and
from
mallets.
the warriors, but
But yeah, I mean, because they said not to shoot her. I guess. I mean, I guess.
No,
that's
they
why.
didn't even say that. It's literally just a bat mallet pipe fight because
Yeah.
if they
because
brought in guns, they would have won in 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, if you're gonna go there,
no. Okay, so the interior scene, they didn't have guns.
in this like
And then
fun
the
house,
second
which
that
was
they
so
go out,
awesome.
It was great.
Once they get outside,
Once they get
guns
once they
galore.
get outside, yes. Now it changes the dynamic. So yeah, I didn't really think about it, but at the same time, I had like a moment of once we've beaten this boss level, now we have to go outside. Now it's gunfire, and the tone actually changes. And
It does.
It's no longer bright neon. Now the stakes feel very real, and then they up it.
I mean, this
Are
Dark,
you
it's
listen,
gray.
John? Are you saying that a comic book movie is not as the same as real life?
You know, the thing is, like, this
They're
movie
not the
is
Ninja Turtles. They were
Yeah.
allowed to use their weapons.
this movie is absurd, like to begin
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
and it is a comic movie by nature are absurd. But I'm thinking to myself, if he wants these people dead, like, there's a scene where they're like preparing for battle and they don't think about the skylight, and guys are coming in through the skylight. If they had guns, this would have been over in about 12 seconds. Shooting
Yes.
as they rappel down. We win! Harley Quinn is meat chunder. Close casket.
All right, so I want to point something else out. I just getting away from that a little bit. I thought what was really refreshing about this movie, and I know I've talked about the male gaze and like femininity and feminism and whatever.
Talk about broad stuff.
Broad stuff. But what I really liked about this movie is that a lot of times, especially in the Marvel universe, it's like, oh, we're going to have a woman, but she's going to be really hard and really tough and really badass. So it's basically a man, but with like body parts that we all want to look at, that
Yes.
they want to look at.
Yes.
What I really liked is that, Harley was very feminine in this. She had her pigtails still. She was on fucking roller skates. Like, I felt like those feminine qualities of her weren't tamped down.
Yeah, same with Black Canary and even Rosie Perez. Because they talked about putting the bodice on,
Yeah,
and
like
she was like, "No, listen, you're okay. You have to be able to protect the girls."
yeah, and just like oh, I love how high you can kick in those tight pants, or
Right.
just like complimenting
Yeah.
each other, because that's, I mean, listen, drunk in a bar bathroom. Let me tell you about the friends that I have made. Like it just felt very real,
Yeah.
and just I liked that they didn't do away with like actual femininity in the face of making them all badass.
And it's funny they even had like a level of because Huntress is not like that. That's
Oh,
not how she was raised.
she was raised outside of
right.
society,
And
basically.
and it's great because she is like almost a Marvel badass where she comes in, she's like, haha, I can do this. And then it shows her like practicing how to say the lines in the mirror.
She's kind of like Drax, where she doesn't understand
but then
like how to
she-
human.
They humanize her in such a way almost immediately. And so you see her start to become a more three-dimensional character.
Because they're a good
They're aware of the
influence.
bullshit that comes with these kind of movies, and they're like, let's address it outright.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Because her
so
coming in,
cool.
I am Huntress. It'd be like, that's kind of stupid.
Yeah,
But if we watch
her-
her practicing
her
it, and everybody
practicing-
calls her crossbow killer. Haha, it's
Her
funny.
practicing in the mirror.
I'm not the crossbow killer.
Yeah.
Her practicing in the mirror was absolutely hysterical.
Why doesn't she work with me? I like crossbows.
Hysterical. I mean, some of these lines, guys, like I thought the dialogue was real good.
So I think my favorite line, just to pinpoint, because there's a great moment that never gets pulled out, is in the middle of this third act fight scene. You're following all of the other characters, and again, very fluid camera work. And then all of a sudden, Harley Quinn like skates by everybody, and then she starts beating up people while she's on roller skates. And I was sitting next to Lane, and Lane goes, "When did she get roller skates?" And then then one of the characters goes, "She had time for a shoe change."
it was awesome
And I was like, "That's just fantastic."
because I said it and then they said
Yeah.
it.
Did you guys think that it was strange that this movie had the balls to kill Victor Zsasz and Black Meth?
You were very
Blah.
upset.
No, I wasn't upset. I thought it was a shocking thing that they took characters that are granted C-level characters in terms of
Yeah, I would say
a
so.
popularity.
Zaz has already been. This is what like his fourth adaptation of
Yes.
being a character.
But the thing is, like,
Yeah.
but the fact that they killed them off, I mean, these are known characters, not like Penguin or Riddler, but they're known characters.
Well, I think at that level you can kill them off
Yeah.
You know?
And plus, Black
Yeah.
Mass Death was fantastic.
Blew
Oh
in
my
half,
god,
yeah.
with the chunks?
Yeah.
The chunks
Yeah.
were ballsy. I
Yeah, like I
loved
came
it.
out of that and being like, that's already a tough movie death to beat.
Oh, so good.
Do these movies have to be R-rated? These DC movies have to be R-rated to succeed?
Yes.
I think that it's better
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
I think that it's so much more realistic that they all said fuck, because you're not going to say tiddlywinks or darn it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that felt more real because the line you like, Chris, when the fuck did she have time to change her shoes?
Right.
You know, like, that's more realistic. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just a filthy, pirate mouth, but
The way I view it,
That's why we love you.
The way I view it, honestly, is that Marvel has a lock on the PG-13 crowd-pleasing average comic book film. That is their bread and butter, okay? I do not see them coming out with, with the exception of, say, Deadpool and the future Deadpool movies that are going to be coming out of that studio.
They're going to be PG-13 as soon as the mouse.
No, they're going
they
to.
won't.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
He
They're
came
going
out
to
and
be.
said, yeah, they made like $1 billion for 2 films.
No,
and we're
they'll
good.
they'll stick with the R-rated film. But the point I'm trying to get across is just that that's what Marvel does well. They do well with the broad, crowd-pleasing PG-13 film. But what DC has tried to do up until this point is do the same thing, is do the crowd-pleasing PG-13 film.
Well,
And
they didn't
it's-
do the crowd pleasing thing.
Well, they tried, but they still tried to play it safe. And I think the thing is if you know your competitor is doing this, why not up the ante and just say, yeah, you know what? We're going to do R-rated versions of these. You look at this film, you look at Joker. The Joker's an R-rated film too. And
The argument could be made, though. I mean, I loved Joker.
Yeah.
I thought this one was pretty good. I loved Logan. I really liked Deadpool. But aren't these movies made for children?
No, I don't
no,
feel like
I
a fight
don't.
scene where she gets superpowers from having cocaine blasted in her nose.
But no, I'm
oh
saying
god, that was so
It was-
good.
it was
you're
phenomenal.
saying
The
comic books
subject
in
matter.
general are made for children, and
Well,
have the R-rated
I
ones.
don't
Like, do
even
we
think
need to
that's
appeal
true
to
anymore.
just like 35-year-olds?
I-
Like, why aren't these for me?
Well,
know.
I mean, personally, I think that the comic book medium, it may have started off as for children, but I don't think that it is just for them anymore. I mean, we're going to talk, about graphic novels and graphic novel adaptations in a future episode.
Yes.
And a lot of the ones that I know that we're all picking are not at all just for children. Some of them are very hardcore, deep, serious, dramatic films that maybe have a grounding in this childlike medium of just looking at pictures and, having
I'm not
dialogue
being
boxes.
dismissive that this is comic books are for 3 years old to death. Like,
Yeah.
they're for
Yeah.
every age group. But to only make movies that are for, an older generation, when characters like Batman and everybody in the DC universe could be for everybody. The Avengers, let's just say the first one,
Yeah.
that's a movie that you can enjoy it at any age,
Yeah.
and it doesn't placate to small children. It doesn't just humor the
But
older generation.
I think the thing, though, is that comic book films have the capacity to address serious issues. They have the capacity to have more, advanced adult issues. And I think that it is shortchanging it. Now, you mentioned Avengers. How deep is Avengers on a scale of 1 to 10?
1.
Yes. So that's my point, is that on a surface level, Avengers
Joss
is great.
Whedon is a 1 as a
But-
human
but-
being on.
Right, but my point is what is that film really about? It is about a group of people who do not like each other eventually coming together to fight a bigger evil. All right, that's great, but what else is there to it that? If I take that film and I compare it with, say, this film, which has a couple different levels on it, and even Joker, we're dealing with more advanced emotions here. We're dealing with more advanced storylines
But
here.
is this like with Star Wars and comic book
Yeah.
movies and things like that? Are we basically, our generation, the millennials, turning into boomers? Like, no, it has to continue to be about us. Don't be for the new people. Like, I want a gritty Ninja Turtles because I'm 35 now and I
no.
don't want them to be silly.
No,
I want them to stab people's heads off.
Here's the
Wow.
thing, man.
You know.
Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think that you have to be gritty. I don't think that you have to be overly saturated and bright and colorful. I think that, and now this comes down to everything, movies and comic books are reflections of the time that they are made. They've always been that way. So I've always viewed that the Dark Knight series is a reflection of a post 9/11 America, where we are now concerned with terrorism and we are concerned with, homeland security. Like, that is ultimately what it is, and the idea that, one person can amass, all this money and be able to counter these things through technology of his own wits. And that's honestly what I viewed those films as, is in that lens. I view Joker, for instance, as a reflection of the Trump years and of the absence of addressing income inequality and an absence of addressing mental health issues. That is why that film was made. And honestly, like, you can watch that film and you'll get those elements of it.
Hashtag kill the rich.
Yeah, but seriously, like it's a
does
reflection.
kind of infer that.
It does.
And all rich people know the words to every Gershwin song.
Apparently, apparently. But my point is just that it doesn't have to be gritty. It doesn't have to be bright and colorful. But it has to reflect the time period that they're made. That's just my opinion. I think Avengers, honestly, is an escapist film.
Should the Robert Pattinson Batman movie be rated R?
No.
Yes.
But
It doesn't have to be.
Okay,
Like, it should
I
just-
want to piggyback a little bit on what he's saying, because
Yeah.
I think that, yes, what you're saying is
He being
100%
Brian.
true. Yeah, Brian, yes. Pronouns, pal.
Yeah. Pronouns, pal.
If Quentin Tarantino wants to make a Star Trek movie,
Yeah.
okay, we're
Yeah.
all in, right?
Yeah.
And we want Quentin Tarantino to make the movie that he's
I think it's going to be a disaster, but I'm all in.
I don't think he's doing it now.
I don't think
he's
so
doing it
either.
now.
But
Yeah.
like, cards on the
Right,
table.
right.
If Quentin Tarantino comes to
Yeah.
a studio and says, "Hey, I want to make a Star Trek movie," Star Trek's gonna be like, "Yeah, okay." He goes, "Hey, I want it to be rated R." I'm like, "Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Tell the story you need to tell."
Yeah.
Avengers told the story it wanted to tell.
Yeah.
And again, it's over a banner where, does that film need profanity? Does it need ultraviolence? Does it need, okay, now you have a Birds of Prey movie. Did they need that? Probably. With the way that they wanted to tell and the hard edge that they wanted the stories. Does the Joker, Todd Phillips comes up with the script? Sure. And
I'm
he goes to
getting
them
that you
and-
don't
and says-
believe that.
he comes up and he says, "Hey, this is the movie that I want to make. It's a Joker movie. It's a hard R." And they went to him and said, "Well, we'll greenlight it and we'll give you $200 million to make it, but you have to make it PG-13." Because, well, that's not the script that I wrote. That's not the vision that I have. That's not what I want to do. I'm doing Mean Streets meets King of Comedy.
Yep.
Okay, go make that movie. So I think we have the ability right now, again, to go back to studio is letting the filmmakers make the film that they need to make. So you can have a PG-13 Shazam movie. You can have a PG-13 this. You can have a PG-13 Batman movie, because Batman, I don't think, needs to be a rated R movie.
I do.
I don't. I
I do. You know why I do? Because I've never seen it.
But, okay, so what do you get with a rated R Batman?
I think you get the stakes being raised enough for
F-bombs.
Batman.
I'm gonna call you out as a comic fan.
Okay.
We have seen rated R Batman once. What did we get?
What was rated R Batman?
All-Star Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
I don't need Batman to say I'm the goddamn Batman. I don't need that. I don't
know. But I think the way I view it, though, is I'm not necessarily talking about Batman himself, saying, fuck this and fuck that. I'm saying that I need the situations that Batman is up against to be the level that he would have to overcome. Now, I've never really seen, with the exception of, say, Dark Knight, a situation in which Batman is faced that is that dire. I don't think you could take, say, Long Halloween and make that PG-13.
I think they did.
Nah.
I mean, you had parts of it in
Parts
Batman
of
Begins.
it.
You had parts of it in that.
But I
Like,
just
what part of that?
I just think that if from a studio perspective, all right, if I'm coming off of Joker and I'm coming off of Birds of Prey. Now, obviously, we haven't talked about this, but Birds of Prey, despite the great things we're saying about it, did not perform well.
Opening weekend. On
Opening
Oscar weekend, which always performs low.
Yeah,
Harley Quinn should be banned.
but come on, man. I mean,
This is bullcrap.
Here's the problem, though. Their budget was $84 million. They only made $31 million.
I'm projecting that to make at least 100.
Okay.
Where are the
Domestically,
men to pray?
I think it's going to have legs.
Okay. And honestly, you're right. Oscar weekend definitely had to hit it up. But I'm looking at the successes you've had with this film, because the reviews of this film have been very well.
Yeah.
And the successes of Joker. If I'm going in there and I know, all right, my rated R stuff, for the most part, has been successful to some degree, why would I then go back and say, you know what, Batman coming out, that one also has to kind of be that PG-13.
Because comic books are for everybody.
But correct, but I'm just saying that if your track record of rated R stuff is doing well, why not do that with Batman?
Because
it's the
you
one
are
thing
because
that you
are
haven't done.
isolating all of the back end stuff. You're going to have a hard time doing. You're not going to go out and see merchandising rights for Birds of
Logan
Prey.
was a great
outside
standalone.
of, outside of
I mean,
Hot
Deadpool
Topic
had
and-
Deadpool had
didn't
stuff.
have a ton of
it did.
toy tie-ins.
And Deadpool had no choice but to go the route they did. But Logan was a great standalone going back, to Marvel. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think every X-Men movie should be Logan. But I love Logan
No.
for being unique
Now,
and by
can you
itself.
go into Walmart and buy Old Man Logan toys?
Yeah.
You absolutely can.
Well, I mean,
there
I just-
is a merchandising aspect that still has to be handled.
I just view it that Batman is such a dark character. Okay? You go back to the comics. Batman has its roots in dark stories. Why would you undercut that by making it PG-13?
I don't feel the absolute need to make it. Now, if, again, you have a filmmaker that says, look, here's my script. You read the script. Holy shit, this is great.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to go make this.
Yeah.
Now, whether the edict is you have to do it beforehand and write a script that's PG-13, so you're allowed one F-word.
Yeah. Which they never do.
How
by
would
the
they
way.
make?
They
like-
never do that.
How would they make the Dark Knight R, for example? That, in terms of tone, is as adult of a movie as you get. How do you make that movie R? Do you throw in a bunch of fucks?
No, I mean,
know.
I'll be honest with you. The one caveat I had against The Dark Knight is that Batman is beating the shit out of the Joker, and you don't see a drop of blood. At all. Nothing. He's literally beating the shit, bashing his head against glass.
But other
don't
people
see
in that
one
film
drop.
got bloodied.
Not really. Not really. Harvey Dent's face is charred off, but you don't see any. Like it's the problem I have is with PG-13 films, especially dealing with the dark subject matter, is that there are no real consequences of actions like that. I've always viewed that because Batman is a human who is dealing with real stuff,
A
especially
fascistic sociopath.
yeah, but yeah, I mean he is. But the point is that because the fact that he doesn't have superpowers, because the fact that he has to rely on his mind, and that because the fact that he is physically putting his body through the rigors night after night and is inflicting damage on people, that there should be reflections of that. Now they did, kind of hint at that sort of thing in Dark Knight, and especially in Dark Knight Rises. But I'm sorry, he's beating the shit out of the Joker. Harvey Dent's face gets blown off. And there's really just like, well, it happened. There's no reflection of it.
Yeah, I just think if you push that too far for the reasons of pushing it too far, what you get is Affleck Batman going into the warehouse, snapping bones, and then murdering people.
Yes, but at the same time, that was comical. That was comical.
It was. I felt like that was more of a
And that wasn't even
betrayal
rated.
of-
That wasn't rated R either. But I'm just saying it's the same sort of thing. He's doing all that shit, and there's no consequences to it. There's no results of it.
I think that I agree with you to the level of I like that they're bringing on filmmakers
Yeah.
and saying, what kind of movie do you want to make?
Yeah.
This is the movie that I want to make. Okay, that's a hard R. Yeah, we want it to be a hard R. This is what we're leaning into.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we want to do. This is what we want to accomplish. And we have these demographics of success to be able to back us up. And then the studio went to say, okay, cool, make your film.
Yeah.
Now, Marvel, you're never
No,
going to get
but
that.
To finish the thought here, imagine if there was a Batman film that was designed with the same levels of character as, say, Watchmen.
movie or the show?
Both. Well, the show is
comic.
really good.
Yeah.
Well, but no, my point is just that you can look at, say, the movie and the show, and those are hard R stuff, right? But they're dealing with the same sort of subject matter: vigilantes, people without superpowers.
But wasn't that
going up
purposely
against
made to be
It-
kind of...
Hyper-violent.
It was,
Yeah, like,
but
this is the opposite of what other comics are.
right. But I've always viewed that was closer in line with, say, Batman than, say, any other superhero out there. And that's just what I'm saying is I would love to see a Batman film that isn't afraid to go there with, say, the violence, with, say, the stories, and with, say, the elements of Batman. And that's the thing, is every Batman movie we've ever seen very rarely goes into the trauma that Bruce Wayne is dealing with. Very rarely.
I just don't feel like we've seen his parents die enough.
Well,
I agree.
That's not what I'm...
Wait, his parents were killed?
Here's what I want to see,
Chris, you
though.
kept such a straight face. You're my hero.
Here's what I want to say, though. We've never really seen what comes after that. Batman Begins gives us a little bit of it, for about the first half of it.
Mask of the Phantasm.
But, right. But
God,
I mean,
I
yeah.
love that movie.
But
I
my
love that
point is
movie.
just that is a trauma that we really have never seen. I'm not going to talk about Gotham because Gotham kind of blunders it.
Gotham's terrible.
But
Gotham is the prequel to Tim Burton to Batman and Robin.
yeah, it is. But the point is just that I think that there are the trauma of that should be explored. And I think you can do something in the vein of, say, the Joker, but with Batman, that is dealing with a more darker subject matter. What happens to a little boy who watches, his parents get murdered in front of him? How does that change?
X2. Like, I'll never forget being in the theater when they're invading the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters, and Wolverine just stabs that guy in the chest, fatally screaming, and pulls his claws out. I'm like, yeah, you just murdered a bitch. Yeah.
Where's blood at?
But I didn't need him to be squirting blood out like Quentin Tarantino directed it.
Well, but no, but that's...
It's still a violent murder.
Yes, but for God's sake, it's like Looney Tunes.
I know, but I think we're talking about hyper realism.
I'm just asking for fucking realism, man. Like,
Sure.
I'm not even asking for Quentin Tarantino level. I'm just saying, like, if someone gets stabbed in the chest by claws, I should see some fucking blood,
We're going
man.
into a lot of the nitty-gritty details. I'm just saying that, like, I think we're slowly seeing our generation, in terms of demographically, being less and less relevant, and I see us fighting back violently and saying that everything has to be made for us when they are made for us to some degree, but they're not the same.
I think we hold on to it. So the boomers carried on. They want the economy, and they want America, and they want everything to go their way. Yeah. The way that our generation fought back was the things that we grew up with, video games and comic books and movies, and we won't let that go. And
we have an ownership.
Forced
Yeah.
all of those mediums. You gotta
grow
stay
with
with
us.
us.
Yeah, we're adults now, so we want an adult version.
Right.
Well, for me, it's not even necessarily that. It's just a matter of I've never really seen that in a film. You can say All-Star Batman, but I'm just saying that I've never seen those stories done with an adult sensibility.
I love
That
how
is
Elaine is checked.
kind of what
I'm not checked out. I think that you guys are having an interesting conversation.
That's just my point.
I can
That's
see
just my
both
point.
ends, and I was just thinking, I think that the obligation is to the screenplay itself. Chris, to your point, tell the story you want to tell. And I think in this case, I think that the R rating, for the reason that I said before, I think that it was appropriate because I think that the language is really important because, like, that's something that drives me crazy about The Walking Dead. Fucking zombies. I'm going to say the F word all the time.
Every
but,
day.
AMC, you can't. You know what I mean?
Every day.
So
They had that scene where if you watch The Walking Dead when they're captured at Terminus, like the season finale, for TV, they had to say, they don't, Andrew Ling's like, yeah, they don't know who they're screwing with. But they did a take him saying that they don't know who they're fucking with because they had to, because like, we can't not say they don't know who they're fucking with.
Right.
And like, we'll probably put it on the unrated DVD Blu-ray
right.
or something.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah.
But I think in this case, I think that, Birds of Prey being rated R was perfectly appropriate.
Was the
Did we
Venom
have-
movie PG-13.
John,
Venom movie
hey,
is PG-13. It doesn't
I feel like we have gotten away from Birds of Prey.
Yeah,
I think we're having a good discussion. But
Sorry.
Any other final thoughts on Birds of Prey, guys?
Yeah. One of the things I kind of want to go back to the movie is Birds of Prey, and the subhead is the fabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. And what I thought that they did. Fantabulous. My apologies.
Get it right.
Well, I got to leave now.
Yeah, get out of here.
What I thought that they did, and we were talking about how they introduced the characters almost retroactively, and they used Harley as the springboard, is you now have a Birds of Prey franchise with established characters, and you have Harley going off on her own. So I don't know if she's in James Gunn's R-rated Suicide Squad movie or not. But
I know Will Smith isn't in it.
Thank God.
Oh, he was so good. Never.
he got so jiggy
With it.
with it.
No, Dad, don't shoot her. Don't shoot her for me, Dad. Oh, man. I have to give Carlton my gun, man.
Why doesn't he want me in his movie?
Why don't he want me, man?
Why don't my daughter want me to kill, man? Sorry.
So, but what I love is that they did very smartly establish this badass cadre of women.
Yeah.
You have, hey, here's a film does that one need to be, going back to the PG-13 already? Does that one need to be that? Probably not.
Yeah.
But then we can do this thing and still have that vein of film.
Yeah.
And then you can bring her back in.
Yeah.
They didn't make it like this everybody come together Guardians of the Galaxy ending.
Yeah.
They made it very schism still, and still kept her on her own path without the complete redemption. And I thought that was a brave move. I thought it was a fiscally smart move, which DC doesn't do often.
No, they don't.
Well, I was doing some reading on it, and I think Gotham City Sirens could still be on the horizon. I don't think they've ruled it out yet.
But that's supposed to be Poison Ivy, Catwoman, and Harley Quinn.
I really thought Poison. I
think they canceled that. But
I mean,
but they can still go off
that
and
was
do
supposed
that.
to be first.
Margot
but-
Robbie wants to make that.
Yeah, that was supposed to be first, but then Birds of Prey took precedent.
Yeah.
So
this is going to sound really petty, but should this movie not have been called Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey?
No, it's Birds of Prey and
but the Birds of
Fantabulous. It's
But
Birds
the
of
movie's-
Prey is the header.
Yeah,
The
and
title.
I'm just not sure it should have been.
It should have been
either,
Harley Quinn should have been the
because Birds
title.
of Prey weren't fully assembled until like the very
And the movie's
That's what I
about
liked
Harley
about
Quinn.
it. That's
Really?
it's an origin story for Birds of Prey.
Right.
Interesting.
And then her story ties into it. It's the and.
That's
That's
why it's
interesting.
kind of like tacked on.
Yeah,
But
and I
interesting.
like
It's really about Harley Quinn.
It's saying we have these two franchises, and we're going to combine them,
Interesting.
Yeah.
and then we can send them on their separate ways.
What about Harley Quinn and the Birth of the Birds of Prey or something like that? Like, it's just as long and convoluted of a title. I don't know, because the movie was about Harley Quinn. It wasn't.
The
really
movie
about
was
the Birds
about
of Prey.
her. She was your focal
I mean,
point. She was your.
she was the Iron Man,
Yeah. Interesting.
so to speak.
Interesting.
So I thought
because
that
it
was cool that they did that.
Batman Forever was an origin story of Robin. It wasn't called like
Robin
and the
Forever.
foreverness of Batman.
You could have called it
Foreverosity.
Batman and more parent death.
They should have called it Batman and Robin. Oh wait, no, they made that the
or
fourth one.
maybe like Robin and Batman through therapy sessions.
I would have loved Batman and the
With the worst
emancipation
therapist
of
of one Dickie Gray.
one Dickie Grayson.
I mean, his parents died, so he was in a sense emancipated.
Yeah.
Oh,
Too much. Too much. Sorry,
bit.
guys.
And the last thing I'll make about this is the kind of gender fluidity of everybody.
Yeah.
You had kind of I don't know if you want to call it a non-binary role in Ewan McGregor. He kind of
Loved
was
it.
everywhere.
Loved it.
Right at the offset, they're showing Harley Quinn in previous relationships, and they highlight that there was a woman.
Loved it.
I kind of thought at one point that they may do something with Poison Ivy, or that she was just going to show up in the third act, kind of like as an out of nowhere thing. It would have worked. It would have not worked. And that film was so kind of hit every mark. I would have thought that it would have worked too.
Well, their genders gave me fluids.
Christ.
I know. I had
Even
to,
Ewan McGregor.
We talked about fluids. I'm really sorry, Brian's class.
That's cool. That's cool.
That poor. Never mind. That stain's still going to sit on that couch.
I liked too, like to that point, Chris. I liked that sexuality wasn't the most interesting part of a character. It was just part of a character, and I think that's smart writing. That's a good writer. That's good work done. More of that, please.
Maybe Hollywood should start letting more broads write and direct movies.
Yeah, no fucking kidding.
I mean, who thought they could do more than bake a pie?
I did.
I'm here for the Irish woman.
Yeah, damn right.
Awesome.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming on.
Definitely.
Your wealth of knowledge really, really helped with this episode. I loved hearing all of the background.
I love
stuff.
listening to the show. It's very well edited and put together.
The editing is stunning, actually. Yeah.
You should teach this.
I should teach that, huh?
Somebody should pay you.
I bet he looks...
but I love the show. I love what you guys do.
Thank you.
I think you guys like Joker too much, but that's fine.
I don't love it. Well, I'd love it to death.
Talk about it later, Chris. I hated it. Let's talk about it later.
So I would say 7 out of 10 for the emancipation of Harley Quinn's face.
I'm kind of in the same boat.
Yeah.
What do you think, Chris?
It's closer to a 6 than an 8.
Let's go 4 quarts of John's fluids out of 5.
Oh, whoa. That's a lot of fluids there.
I know. He was severely
Is that
dehydrated.
blood, too?
He needs
At some point, it just becomes blood.
Yeah.
You lost a lot of protein.
There's a lot of spiders in it. That's normal, right?
What's that chafing smell?
Chafing smell. Whoa.
You get to 4 quarts, it smells.
It's also... Chris, where can they find you at on Facebook and Ready, Set, Geek? Is that still
going? So we're looking at bringing stuff back. We took a hiatus because real life happens. And
It
I
happens,
have to work.
Don't you hate that?
It happens.
So career changes and whatnot. We want to start focusing back on bringing content. We do a lot of top 10 lists. We do some fun discussions on Instagram at NDC Ready, Set, Geek. We're also on Facebook at Ready, Set, Geek. And anywhere that your local women's lingerie providers can have.
And you guys are still out of New Dimension Comics, right?
We started building a home, and then they sold off that part of the building to Old Navy. So we started painting and decorating and doing all of this stuff, and now I have to figure out if we have a home now.
So it's because New Dimension moved to Waterfront, right?
Right. There was Century 3 is a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
That's where things go to die.
It is a dead mall.
Lebanon Church Road, Pittsburgh.
Minutes from the mall.
There is no mall. So yeah, we were doing some stuff operating out of the Waterfront location. But just as a plug for New Dimension Comics, make sure you check out Three Rivers Comic Con. We'll be coming back this spring. And it is an absolute blast of the show. A lot of really fun guests. This is it's not Steel City. It's not where we go and spend a ton of money to see the cast of Saved by the Bell. It's actual writers and artists and creators from comics, and them coming in and getting to meet those people. And then we have fun beer parties, and it's a really cool time. Sweet. So check out Three Rivers Comic Con.
Well, hey, let me know when Ready, Set, Geek's ready to go again, because I need to defend my crown, because I'm a two-time champion. So I'm ready to go back.
Yeah, you and your two-time bullshit.
Two-time?
Awesome. I think that's all about Birds of Prey we're going to talk about there, then. I think we've talked about
There were no birds.
There were no birds. What the shit, man?
There were turds, though.
There were turds, though.
Eventually that girl crapped out that diamond.
Yeah. Basically.
There really was a turd of prey.
Harley had to go in and smush them poops until she found the diamond.
That's true. So
I'm in for that deleted scene.
Yeah.
So
they didn't have anything fetishistically for me yet. But
Mr. J. Scrundle.
So
when I said pudding, I didn't mean this.
You ended on Grundle and Puddin'. That's it.
Well, I give it 8 egg sandwiches out of 10 because of all the feminism. And I can be found at LA_Croft on the Twitter machine.
John?
I don't know. Oh, the Unreal J. I don't use it enough.
You don't know?
Yeah.
You were using it to go after Cool Cat.
You're still
as a
going
point of
after
reference,
Cool Cat.
I just tweeted him this morning.
Oh, of course he did.
Every time Cool Cat tweets now, my phone tells me, and I tweet back at him something terrible. I probably tweeted at Cool Cat more than any other person on this planet.
I mean, you have.
Yes.
Besides them in WWE. Oh,
That's
man.
not. Well, I guess that's not. I'm just using the hashtag
Yeah,
Raw when
yeah.
I'm watching Raw, if I can catch it live. But anyways,
Oh, it's Unreal J-Rolls.
Yeah.
You can find me at Brian Kindhouse on the Psycho Show page. Be sure to like us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Psycho Show. You can also find us on the Epicast Network, epicastnetwork.com. If you have a favorite movie or question you want to throw away, or you want to talk to us about your breakups from Mr. J, from Mr. J. Scrundle.
hopefully you haven't had a Mr. J in your life. I
Yeah,
hope
hopefully
not.
you haven't. That's terrible. You can contact us at cinemapsychoshow.com. Make sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and iTunes, and we will see you next time.
Birds of Prey thongs now available at Hot Topic.
I dressed like Harley Quinn, and there are no cameras outside of the ones in John's room, and I'm very concerned.
Epicast.